What if I told you a single unanswered question inside a congressional hearing just exposed a power struggle at the highest levels of American law enforcement? The room went silent when Congressman Frank Duran leaned forward and asked, "So to be perfectly clear, the Department of Justice got it wrong." Patel froze, the kind of stillness that says everything words can't. In that second you could feel it. This wasn't a routine oversight hearing anymore. This was something deeper, something that made even the FBI's own director hesitate before answering.
In your district, but down in the Southern District of Florida. And I can't imagine it being too different in terms of how we proceed and how to make that successful.
Okay. My next question is, just recently, you had a visit to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Just please tell me how that cyber tip line and how that program's future looks with these $500 million cuts.
We actually partner wonderfully with NCMEC, and we've committed to allowing our FBI employees to remain there no matter what. We will find a way to fill that mission set, even if, even under the most austere of budget cuts, because what they do is exceptional. If people don't know, they need to go there and see it. It's right in Arlington, Virginia. They find missing children from 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, and they provide treatment to those that have been abused.
Okay.
And so you have my commitment, sir, that we'll do it.
I appreciate that. And according to the domestic terrorism operations sections, the internal tagging system used to track domestic terrorism investigations was eliminated, and the staff of 16 was reduced. Can you tell me that future and where you hold that program?
Sir, if I may, can I get back to you on that in writing, because I'm not familiar with that off my
Okay.
head.
Then in your written testimony, you had talked about cybersecurity. I'm going to tie two things together. The FBI agents, are they still currently, at the end of every week, emailing the 5 things that they've accomplished?
I'm glad you raised that point, sir. We never did that.
Okay.
I stopped
The
that.
FBI agents were never asked to put in their goals in which they accomplished?
The,
The reason why I say that is because I had a specific conversation at a retirement party of a chief from an agent who expressed to me that after he had chased a car down 8094 who had stabbed a family member, and he left his home and was able to prevent that individual from killing someone else because it was cross state lines, that he had to go back, and then that next day was told he had to fill out his emails of what he accomplished.
that email was sent across government agencies.
So it was sent to the FBI.
It was sent to.
So you just said it was never sent to the FBI. So was it or was it not?
It was sent to the FBI. I, as the director of the FBI, said we are not.
Who sent it?
We are not responding to it. It came from a general account at the department.
Okay, so then my next question is, that information that my FBI agent in my district sent to that agency, how is that information protected?
I'm sorry, are you saying the agent responded to that email?
Are you saying they did not?
I told the workforce not to.
But you just told me that they received the email.
We did.
So without this, let's just assume that they did. Where did that information go and how is it protected?
That information would have only been sent to their immediate supervisor, and every supervisor in the Bureau was told if they received any such information, it is not to be actioned in any way.
So what happened with that information with the supervisors?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that, if any was collected, but if it was,
So you said that the FBI, that a different agency sent that email. What was that agency?
it came from the Department of Justice.
Okay. And those emails never went back to the Department of Justice who requested it?
No, sir.
Okay. And you're 100% confident of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The information that the supervisors had from those agents, where did that go?
That should not have been transmitted anywhere. We got on top of it fast enough where I believe, and I'll
Because you
double
thought
check.
it was wrong?
I thought the.
Why did you prevent it?
Because the operational mandate that we have at the Bureau, in my opinion, prohibited the public disclosure of that information across our media.
So to be perfectly clear, the Department of Justice got it wrong.
I'm not speaking for the Department of Justice. As
But you
I said,
are saying that that directive was in complete conflict of what your procedures and processes are.
my procedures and processes are under the Department of Justice. I'm saying as a subordinate of the Department of Justice, that's where the email came from. I don't know where it came from on top of them.
But your directive was to make sure that the Department of Justice did not get the FBI information,
That no one got it.
except the supervisors. Why would they
If-
request it if they would never get it?
Well, the supervisors were told to stand down. What I'm trying to say is, when that email came in, we acted as fast as we could, I think the same day, to say we are not in a position to do that. Everybody hit pause till we figure out what to do. And the end result was we at the FBI are not complying with that request to publicly do so. And we told agents that if you feel the need to express that information to your supervisors, only do so on the classified system.
Okay. The information that I received, that personal conversation that I had, that agent didn't seem like he felt the need. He felt it was a directive. I thank you for your forthcoming. I look forward to working with you. The purpose of me bringing up this questioning was to make sure that that information is secure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
I'll
very
double
much.
check.
Mr. Moore.
I yield back.
Because what started as a discussion about agency funding spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable exchanges in Patel's entire confirmation process. It began with a simple email, a message that on the surface looked harmless. But the more Patel talked, the more it sounded like the email that shouldn't exist at all. According to Duran, that email was sent across multiple government agencies, including the FBI, asking agents to list their 5 biggest accomplishments each week. Think about that. These aren't office clerks logging weekly goals. These are federal agents handling live classified cases, terrorism investigations, counterintelligence operations, and cyber threats. Telling them to report what they're doing through a general email account doesn't just cross a line, it shatters protocol. And when Congressman Duran pressed for answers, Patel's response made it worse. At first he denied it flat out. It was never sent to the FBI, he said confidently. Moments later, caught by his own contradiction, he backtracked. It was sent to the FBI, but we didn't respond. It came from a general account at the Department of Justice. That single reversal changed everything. Because if the DOJ actually sent that email, then the question isn't whether the FBI replied, it's why the DOJ thought it could issue directives to agents working on sensitive, often classified investigations. Who authorized that? And what were they really after? Performance metrics or internal intelligence? That's what Duran wanted to know. And it's why the temperature in that room rose with every question. Patel insisted he immediately told his agents to stand down, that they were not to comply, and that any information sent up the chain should stay within the classified system. But when Duran asked how that data was handled, Patel couldn't say. He fumbled, saying, "I'll have to get back to you on that." The audience in the hearing room shifted in their seats. Even on the live stream replay you can feel the discomfort. Because in Washington saying "I'll have to get back to you" isn't a promise to clarify later, it's a signal that the person speaking isn't sure how much of the truth has already been uncovered. Duran didn't raise his voice, he didn't need to, his calm persistence did all the damage. He pressed again, "So if the DOJ sent it, and you told your people to ignore it, that means the Department of Justice issued a directive that violated your procedures, correct?" Patel tried to sidestep, "I'm not speaking for the DOJ," but Duran didn't blink. "Your directive was to make sure the DOJ didn't get the FBI's internal information. Why would they request it if they were never supposed to see it?" No answer, just silence. And then Patel said something no one expected. "When that email came in, we acted fast, same day, to say we're not in a position to comply. Everyone hit pause until we figured it out. It sounds responsible on the surface, but it also confirms the email was real, was received, and was serious enough to cause an emergency internal order across the Bureau. And that's the problem. Because in the FBI's world, directives like that don't just appear, they're logged, tracked, authorized, or at least they're supposed to be. So where did it come from? Patel says it originated from a general account within the Department of Justice. That sounds like a minor clerical issue, until you realize that general accounts don't typically have the authority to email every federal agent in the country. Someone wrote that message, someone pressed send, but when Duran asked who it was, Patel couldn't say. This is where the hearing shifted from confusion to confrontation, because once the DOJ was mentioned, the conversation stopped being about data management and became about power. If the Department of Justice sent a directive the FBI refused to follow, it signals more than miscommunication. It reveals a fracture between two of the most powerful institutions in America, both operating under the same executive branch, but suddenly at odds over what information should be shared and who gets to give the orders. And that's why Duran's question, "So the DOJ got it wrong," hit so hard. It forced Patel into an impossible position: admit that his superiors made a mistake, or admit that he defied their orders. Either way, it's political suicide. You could see it in his pause, the kind of hesitation that only comes when the truth isn't convenient for anyone in the room. What made this moment even more striking was how it unfolded. There was no shouting, no dramatic grandstanding. Duran used calm precision. Every question was a thread that, once pulled, unraveled a little more of Patel's defense. And when Patel finally said, "We got on top of it fast," it almost sounded rehearsed, as if he knew this question might come, but didn't expect Duran to have first-hand accounts from his own district to back it up. Agents who believed the directive was mandatory, not optional. Agents who genuinely thought they were required to send those reports. That discrepancy is huge. Because if even one field office believed the order was real, then classified details, names, case statuses, operations, could have been funneled straight into an unsecured system. Whether intentional or accidental, that's a breach of national protocol, and it raises a darker question. If the DOJ wanted those updates, what else might they have requested under the radar? Now let's step back for a second, because this isn't the first time Patel's testimony has raised eyebrows. In previous hearings, he's been accused of dodging accountability, deflecting oversight, and using vague language whenever questions cut too close to the core of internal failures. Critics say this moment is part of a pattern, a consistent effort to protect the institution's image rather than its integrity. Supporters argue he's simply shielding classified processes from political misuse. Either way, the result is the same: no clear answers, just more confusion. But confusion at this level isn't harmless. It erodes public trust. When the people tasked with protecting national security can't even explain who sent an email or where that information went, it tells the public something terrifying: that even within the walls of the most powerful agencies, communication can break down in ways that put sensitive operations at risk, and Duran understood that. That's why his line of questioning wasn't about catching Patel in a gotcha moment. It was about something much bigger: accountability. Because when an elected official says, "If you can't track your own communications, how can the public trust you to manage classified intelligence?" That's not political theater, that's oversight doing its job. Think about the stakes here. We're talking about an agency whose mission depends entirely on secrecy, coordination, and discipline. A rogue or mistaken directive doesn't just cause internal chaos, it could expose sources, compromise investigations, or endanger lives. And yet in this hearing, no one seemed to know exactly who gave the order or where the data ended up. That's not just an administrative glitch, that's systemic failure. The irony is that Patel may genuinely have believed he was doing the right thing by halting compliance, but even that decision opens up new problems. If he overstepped his authority to stop a DOJ-level order, then he effectively admitted to defying his chain of command. If he didn't, and the FBI still ignored a legitimate directive, then the agency broke from standard operational control. Either version is a red flag, not just for Congress, but for the public watching this unfold in real time. And this moment didn't happen in isolation. It's part of a much broader concern spreading through government oversight committees: the question of who really controls federal data. Agencies claim independence, but the DOJ oversees their legal boundaries. If the DOJ can't account for its own instructions, or the FBI can't confirm where data was sent, then the system designed to protect Americans is effectively running blind. That's why hearings like this one matter. They pull back the curtain on how fragile accountability can be when layers of bureaucracy hide behind classified excuses. Because let's be honest, most people watching these exchanges online aren't policy experts. They're citizens who just want to believe that someone somewhere knows what's going on inside these agencies. But every time a high-ranking official like Patel stumbles through basic questions, that confidence slips a little further away. And Frank Duran, whether you agree with his politics or not, knew that. His questioning wasn't flashy, it was surgical. Each inquiry built on the last until Patel had no safe exit. He couldn't confirm, couldn't deny, couldn't clarify. That's when you realize the real issue isn't whether the email was malicious, it's that no one can explain how something like that can even happen unnoticed. Because if an internal message can circulate between the DOJ and FBI without clear ownership, what else might be slipping through the cracks? What other directives, policies, or communications might be floating in bureaucratic limbo, unseen, unrecorded, and unaccountable? That's the story hiding inside this tense hearing, a glimpse into how easily systems meant to ensure order can descend into confusion. It's the reason why public oversight exists in the first place. When Duran asked so to be perfectly clear, the Department of Justice got it wrong. He wasn't just cornering Patel, he was voicing a question that echoes far beyond that hearing room. Who exactly is in charge when communication between agencies collapses? And maybe that's what makes this moment so unforgettable. It wasn't loud or explosive. It was quiet, deliberate, and devastating. A few simple words that peeled back layers of bureaucracy and forced the FBI director to face a truth most officials would rather avoid, that sometimes the system protects itself better than it protects the people it serves. Patel's final line, "I'll double-check," might sound responsible, but to anyone listening closely, it landed more like an afterthought. Because by then the damage was done. Every contradiction, every hesitation, every unanswered question left an impression that's hard to shake, that maybe somewhere between procedure and politics, accountability got lost. And that's why moments like these matter. They remind us that oversight isn't just paperwork or policy, it's the only defense the public has against power operating in the dark. So when you see these hearings trend online, don't scroll past them. Because hidden inside the awkward pauses and tangled answers are the real stories, the ones that tell you how the system actually works when no one's watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive. We unpack the stories others skip, revealing what's really going on behind those closed-door hearings. And if you want early access to exclusive investigations, join our Patreon, where accountability and transparency still matter, because the truth deserves more than a headline. It deserves your attention.